Hello students, today I am teaching you sources, 8th standard first lesson, sources. You know, the sources are the materials which are used to write the history or any other works. Here history is, first of all you know, what is history? History is a story. History is a systematic study of the past. You know, the past events are systematically enumerated. So that is called as a history. So it is a systematic study of the past, and history is written on the basis of the sources. Sources. Hence, there is no source, no history. Therefore, there is no source, no history. It is the stance of history. Without sources, without evidences, we cannot write the history. So, it is said that no sources, no history. That is the stance of history. The historian is like an advocate. You know, historian, he is also like an advocate, because advocate, what he do? First of all, he present their arguments on the basis of the evidences and the sources. He present the arguments in the court followed by the evidences and the sources related to their case. So historian is also like an advocate. On the basis of the sources and evidences, he systematically enumerates the history. So it is called as it is a systematic study of the past. Similarly, historians collect the sources and subject them to a critical examination. He subject all the sources in a critical examination, then analyze and write the history. First of all, he collect the sources. First of all, he collect the evidences, and afterwards critical examination and analyzation, and afterwards he write the history. Now the sources, you know, the human beings had created many facilities to lead their life since ancient times. You know, to lead their life, we require so many things, so many sources. So they created many things, many facilities to lead their life since ancient time. If the things used by human beings in the past have remained, they are called as the sources. If the human beings, the things used by the human beings, they left, they remained, then they are known as the sources. The things used by the human beings, they left, they remained, they are called as the sources. And here the sources, for example, agricultural tools, then pots, coins, inscriptions, arms, temples are considered as a sources to write the history. You know, human beings, they used resources, they used materials, they left behind them. For example, the agricultural tools, you know, agricultural tools, then ports, then buildings, arms, etc. are considered as the sources. And here, similarly, the written documents and literary works are the main source of history. Literary documents and some written documents are also considered as a source to write the history. The sources can be divided into two types. They are the literary sources and archaeological sources. The first one is literary sources and second is archaeological sources. These are the two types of sources. Here, the written sources or the literary sources, there are two types. They are the written literature and the oral literature. Here, two types are there. First one is the written literature. Written literature and oral literature. These are the two types of the literary sources. First one is the written literature, and second one is the oral literature. Here, oral literature or written literature, it is the main source of literary source. Here, the literary work portrays the existing aspects of life, either directly or indirectly. What it expresses? It expresses the existing life of the people directly or indirectly. Here, a literary work, here there are two types. Now, the native literature. In written literature, there are two types. It is a native literature and foreign literature. Native literature and foreign literature. In the written literature, here native literature. What is the native literature? Here native literature, the literature created by the Indians in native language is called as native literature. You know, the literature created by the native Indians in their regional languages, in their native language, that is called as a native literature. Here, the literary works, they produced literary works in Sanskrit, Prakrit, Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, Gujarati, in all other regional languages, in many other native languages. These are the sources to write the history. Here, some writers, some native writers, for example, Kautilya wrote Arthashastra. It is a native literature. Then Kalhana, who is the author of the Rajatarangini, then King Hala, he wrote Gata Sapta Sati, then Vishakadatta, he is also author. He wrote Mudra Rakshasa, and Bana Bhatta, he wrote Harsha Charita, then Pampa, Kannada poet, Pampa, ancient Kannada poet, Pampa, he wrote Vikramarjuna Vijaya, then Chand Bardai, who lived in the court of the Rajputs, he wrote the Prithviraj Raso, he wrote, these are the literary works produced by the native authors or the native rulers. They also help to write the history. All these writings portrays, all these works portrays then contemporary social, religious, economic, cultural and political and also administrative system of the rulers. That rulers of that time. So it helps to write the history because all these writings provide some evidences, provides sources to write the history systematically. So first of all, the historians, they collect all these information, all these evidences and write the history. So they are the literary sources. Now the foreign literature, now second one is now the written, and now the second is in literary sources, the foreign literature. That is the foreign literature. Here the foreign literature, here since ancient time many foreigners visited India as ambassadors, as governors, as a businessmen officials and missionaries have recorded their observations and experiences in their works. All they recorded their experiences and observations in their works. These works are considered as a foreign literature. For example, Megasthenes, a foreigner, Megasthenes, a foreigner, he wrote Indica. It also gives the idea, the political, economic condition of the Indian rulers. Then Huyen Tsang, he wrote CUK. Then Ptolemy, he wrote about the geography, and Fahian, he was the author. He wrote Ferista, Tariq Ferista, then Barbosa, Barbers. Then another Babur, he was a king as well as a philosopher and author. He wrote his autography in a book called Suzuki Babari. Babar wrote, Babar was the famous ruler of the Mughal dynasty. He wrote his autobiography in a book called Suzuki Babari. These works explain about the contemporary social, economic, religious, cultural and administrative aspects of that time. So it is about the foreign literature. Foreign literature also provides information to write the history. So these are the types of the literary sources. The native literature and the foreign literature. Native literature, many authors, many writers write their observations and experiences in their works, like the foreign ambassadors who came to India as an ambassador, who came to India as a businessman or official, or the missionaries. They also recorded their experiences and observations, and they are recorded. They all help us to write the history systematically. Now, the archaeological sources are available into archaeological sources. The archaeological sources, here the things, archaeological source are available not only on the surface of the earth. They are not only found on the surface of the earth, but they are also found in the depth of the earth also. Here, the hidden things in the earth are dug out by using the scientific method. Hidden things which are in the earth are dug out by using the scientific method. That is called as a excavation. Excavation of the hidden things by using the scientific method. That is called as a excavation. That Harappan civilization, it came to light due to the process of excavation. Harappan civilization, it came to light. It is because of the work of or the process of excavation. Here, during the excavation, the ruins of buildings are available. There are some inscriptions, coins, then terracotta pieces, bangles, seals, bone pieces, metals, and others have been found at the time of the excavation. These are analyzed by applying the various scientific methods. All these materials, all these sources are analyzed by using the various scientific methods to understand the lifestyle of the people of that time. Now, the important archaeological sources are here. The first one is the inscription. The first one is inscription. Inscriptions. It is one of the archaeological source. Here the inscriptions means engraved writing. Inscriptions means they are the engraved writings on stone, rock, metals, ivory, etc. Here the inscriptions are more reliable as they have direct relationship with the then events. They are more reliable because they have a direct relationship with the then events and happenings. The Ashoka's inscriptions are existed earliest inscriptions found in India, and most of his inscriptions are in Brahmi script. Ashoka's inscriptions are found in our country and they are in Brahmi script and they are in Prakrit language. Now thousands of inscriptions are found in Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, Marathi, Gujarati, Sanskrit and in Prakrit language. The important inscriptions found in our country are Samudragupta's Allahabad pillar inscription. Samudragupta, the ruler of the famous ruler of the Gupta dynasty, was Samudragupta. His important inscription was the Allahabad pillar inscription, and Imbadi Pulakeshi's inscription. Pulakeshi's second, the famous ruler of the Badami Chalukyas. He is Aihole inscription and Kharavela's Hathi Gumba inscription. Kharavela's, the rulers of Kalinga. Kharavela's Hathi Gumba inscription. All these inscriptions portrays the military achievements of then rulers. All these inscriptions, Aihole inscription of Pulakeshi's II, then Allahabad pillar inscription of Samudragupta and Kharavela's inscription of the Kalinga rulers, they all explains. What they explain? They explain about the military achievements of the then rulers. At the same time, the Uttara Meruru inscription. Uttara Meruru inscription, it explains about the rural administration of the Chola rulers. The Chola rulers' administrative achievements can be seen in the Uttara Meruru inscription. Apart from these many political, social, economic, cultural, religious, educational aspects are reflected in these inscriptions. So, inscriptions are very important to write the history. They are very useful. Useful evidences or sources to write the history, because in inscriptions we directly come across the administrative system of the rulers, military achievements of the rulers. We can also understand the prosperity of the rulers, because they also minted some coins. Some rulers minted the gold coins, silver coins, copper coins. So the rulers who minted the gold and silver coins, it shows the prosperity of that kingdom. So these are the very important sources to write and to know the economic condition, political condition of that rulers. Now the second one is the coins. Here the coins, the coins are in small in shape. Now the second archaeological source is the coins. Coins are small in shape, but they contain many important aspects. Though they are small in shape, they contain many important aspects. They are helpful to understand the geographical extent of the rulers. The coins are helpful to know the geographical extent of the rulers' kingdom, and also they aid us to know the language of administration, because the language of the administration and economic condition, their religion, and we also come to know about their skill in metal technology. We can understand their skill, their knowledge in metal technology. Here, Samudragupta had minted 7 different type of gold coins. Samudragupta, ruler of the Gupta dynasty, he minted 7 different type of gold coins based on the picture on those. It said that he was a lover of music. On that basis, we can understand Samudragupta was a lover of music. And the ruler Samudragupta conducted Ashwamedha Yaga also. It was also depicted on the coins. Then Gautamiputra Satakarni, he was the famous ruler of the Shatavahana dynasty. Here he got the name Nahapana arranged on his coins. He got the name called Nahapana arranged in his coin because he defeated the king Nahapana. Therefore, he arranged his name on the coins, his coins, and engraved his Nahapana. Suppose that Gautamiputra Satakarni, he defeated Nahapana, then available Roman coins in Bengaluru proves the fact that this region has a trade link with the Romans 2000 years back. Some Roman coins are also found in Bengaluru, and it suggests that we have a trade link with the Romans 2000 years back. Now the next is the monuments. The third archaeological source is the monuments. Monuments are a major source of history, to write the history. Here the palaces, temples, forts, pillars, etc. are the monuments. Mehrauli iron pillar and Vijayanagara whispering gold gumbas are the evidence of the maturity of then science and technology. These are the evidences, the gold gumbas in Vijayapur and Mehrauli pillar inscriptions. They are the evidences of the maturity of the then science and technology. It explains the maturity of the rulers of that time, their maturity in science and technology. Their skill in science and technology can be seen, understand with the help of these 2 monuments. And at the same time, Chittor's Vijayastambha, that is a victory pillar, tells the victory of Ranakumbha. Chittor Vijayastambha, it explains the story of the Ranakumbha. Then cave pictures and engravings of Elephanta, Ellora, Ajanta narrate mastery over the painting and sculpture during this their time. Ajanta, Ellora paintings, the caves, they also reflect their knowledge about the painting and sculpture. Now the temple of Aihole Pattadakallu explain the evolution of the Indian temple architecture. It explains the evolution of the Indian temple architecture because in Aihole and Pattadakallu there are many temples built by the Chalukyan rulers. So it is called as the cradle of the Indian architecture. So it explains about the Indian temple. It shows the evolution of the Indian temple architecture. Then in Bidar that Muhammad Gaban gave importance in building the madrasas, and the monuments of Nalanda. Monuments of Nalanda, and monuments of that Bidar. What they explain? How the rulers gave importance to education. Explains about their accomplishment in education. At the same time, the fort of Srirangapattan explains the accomplishments in the area of defense technology. It explains the Srirangapattan, the fort of Srirangapattan. It explains about their accomplishment in the area of defense technology. So the monuments throw light on then contemporary religious aspects. They throw light. All these monuments throw light on what? The then education system, religious system, their technology, economic growth, scientific knowledge, and creativity achieved. Now the other ruins, based on the various pieces of terracotta, bangles, beads, and during the examination, one can understand the socio-cultural, economic, political, and religious life of the people. With other ruins also, we can understand their political system, their economic condition, social cultural system can be easily understand. Here, not only this, one can also understand the food habits of the then people. We can also understand the food habits, the ornaments used by the then people can be understand by applying carbon 14 dating procedure on the biological ruins. In these sites, one can arrive at the accurate period of the ruins by applying carbon 14 formula or carbon 14 dating procedure. Carbon C14 procedure, we can understand the age. We can understand the period of that ruins. Here now, Buddha stupas came to light during the excavation of the Sanchi in Yadgiri district and Rajagatta of Doddaballapur Taluk. In the excavation conducted at Arakamandu and Pattanam, Tamil Nadu, a large number of evidences are found. At the time of excavation, number of evidences, number of sources are found and speak of commercial contact between South India and the Romans. So many evidences, sources are found at the time of the excavation in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka. It explains the trade and commercial contact with the Romans with India. Like this, remains found at excavation tells many things that were lost over a period of time. Like with the help of all these sources, it is possible to write history systematically and accurately. Now dear students, you have to write all the exercise questions and read the lesson 1 or 2 times properly and prepare for the first unit test.